Now, I know free agency just happened a while ago, and yeah, I know I'm late to the trend, but anyways, today I'm going to be talking about the winners and losers of NBA free agency. But before I get into it, guys, make sure please to like, comment, subscribe, give your takes down below. I would love to hear them. I'll try to comment back. But yeah, let's get straight into it. So, our first winner is the Chicago Bulls. So obviously they got Lonzo Ball for I think a pretty good deal, and he solves I think the point guard issue. They can run the offense through him. Solid defender. I think one of the better perimeter defenders in the league. And they also paired him with Zach LaVine, and I think that takes the pressure off Zach a little bit to guard the other player's best perimeter player. And Zach, I think, can just go a little bit more off ball and be even more efficient than he already is. And then the other free agent, is DeMar DeRozan, and I think he had an underrated season last year. I think he's probably one of the more underrated players now, and he's turned into quite the playmaker. I think he averaged 6+ assists last season, and he's a elite mid-range scorer, can get a bucket anytime he wants. Obviously, he's not the best three-point shooter out there, but he can occasionally make one. But his bread and butter is in the mid-range, just getting that low block, that low elbow, just to rise up and give that little mid-range J. And yeah, he's turned into a really good playmaker, and I just think that Chicago, with the amount of playmakers they have now, with Lonzo, who can create offense for others, DeMar, who can create offense for others, that pick and roll with DeMar and Vooch, Lonzo and Vooch. Obviously, you got Zach with Vooch, and I just think that offensively the Bulls are going to be really, really good. And yeah, I think they can probably make the playoffs. I'm not going to say that they're going to be a third or fourth seed, but I can definitely see them being in the playoff race. And yeah, so that's our first free agency winner. Now, moving on to our first loser of free agency is the Philadelphia 76ers. And I'm just going to, keep this pretty short. It's Ben Simmons. We know how bad he is at this point. For all his all-around game of, really good passing, elite defender, elite rebounder, all that. He's not aggressive enough. He does not have that mentality to attack. Obviously, in Game 7 of the Philly series and Hawks series, he had Trae Young on him, and he didn't do anything. I mean, if I was Ben, I would have straight up dunked on Trae. And at this point, we know what he is. We know what he is. His expectations coming into the league was a Magic/LeBron hybrid, and now we've lowered that bar to a athletic version of Draymond Green. And no disrespect to Draymond, he's a Hall of Famer, no doubt, but that's not where we intended for Ben to be. And I think it's on Philly for not trading him at the first place. His value is super low, and the value that Philly is asking for, the asking price for Philly is a young star, multiple assets, multiple first-round picks. I think it's 4 first-round picks, and that is just way too high for Ben. That's a James Harden type deal, and if I'm any other team, I'm not doing that. If I was Philly, I probably would have took the Pacers deal for I think it was Malcolm Brogdon and Jeremy Lamb, I think, and that would fit way better with Embiid. I mean, that duo just doesn't work. It doesn't work. It was pretty obvious, but now it really doesn't work. And they need to get rid of Ben Simmons if they want to win a championship. But yeah, that is our first loser of free agency. Our second winner of free agency is my team, the Atlanta Hawks. And I'll keep this pretty brief. They signed Trae Young to a Supermax rookie extension if he makes All-NBA team next year or wins MVP or one of those individual awards. He will make about $207 million for the next 5 years. So yeah, obviously we locked up our superstar point guard. We re-signed John Collins to, I think, a pretty reasonable deal. $25 million over 5 years. It's not all the way max, but it's close to it. And a lot of people are getting mad over his contract because you know how big it is, and saying that he didn't deserve it because his playoff performance. But I think a lot of people are mistaking this deal. It's not just what Sean Collins is now, but this deal is projecting of what JC is going to be for the future. And for the future, I see JC being our third best player, and I believe that his ceiling is a third option on a championship team. And yeah, so we brought back our two main building blocks, and then obviously in the draft we drafted Sharif Cooper and Jalen Johnson, and both of them are looking like steals of the draft. They pretty much dominated in this summer league. They look like the Walmart version of Trey and John. And yeah, so we basically just brought back the whole crew, added some really nice valuable pieces, more assets, and maybe a future superstar trade for like Zion or something, hint hint. And we also got Delon Wright, who is going to be I think our main backup PG going forward. He's a solid, can do just about a little bit of everything. And yeah, we pretty much won. Moving on to our second loser of this year's free agency is the Golden State Warriors. And to put it simply, I think they did not make the big splash that I think everyone wanted them to, including myself. I think they had the assets to trade for like a Bradley Beal or a Pascal Siakam, and they really just stayed put. I mean, they made some solid offseason signings with a guy like Otto Porter Jr., who's a really nice 3-and-D player, can help them defend, versatile, can shoot threes and space the floor. But all in all, I think that with the current roster that they have, with the core of Steph, Clay, and Dre, with their their new assets with Moody and Kuminga, or why I like to say it, Cum Bucket, and along with James Wiseman, I think they have a pretty good young core and their old core. But I just think that they need to specify one objective: either go all in and win now with their core of Steph, Clay, and Dre, or crap, just start rebuilding. They can't have it both ways. And for that reason, I deem them as a loser. Our third winner for free agency is the Miami Heat, and I think it's for obvious reasons. They traded for Kyle Lowry. They gave up Goran Dragic, but at this point, he's pretty much aging. And I think with Kyle Lowry, I'm not saying they're going to win a championship or anything, but I do think they can help with the playmaking and spacing, especially in the playoffs, because let's just be honest, Jimmy kind of got exposed. And with them going all in, yeah, I do think that Kyle Lowry is a really good fit with Miami Heat and their culture, and with Bam Adebayo, hopefully going to get better. Tyler Hero probably going to get better. And yeah, I see them as a pretty solid contending team. Now our third loser of this year's free agency is the Dallas Mavericks. Yes, aka my rival team. Just kidding. I like Luka. But anyways, the objective for the Dallas Mavericks was basically acquiring that second guy to Luka to relieve some pressure off of him, because he had that historic playoff performance. Well, really playoff this round in general against the Clippers. But we saw that the weakness is that they need another ball handler. Luka cannot do it all by himself, and Kristaps Porzingis showed that. At this point, he is not the same player as he was in New York, and it's just they need a Bradley Beal or a Damian Lillard or heck a Kyle Lowry, but they did not get anyone. They re-signed Tim Hardaway Jr., which is nice, but we all know that he's not a second option kind of guy. And they traded Josh Richardson for Moses Brown. That's nice, I guess, but that's really not pushing the needle at all. I mean, Luka is a generational talent. He is a top 10 player, and with that kind of talent, that comes expectations. And right now, Mark Cuban and the Mavericks, they're not doing a really good job with surrounding Luka with that core that he needs to succeed in the Western Conference if they're going to win a championship. Our fourth winner of free agency is the LA Lakers, and I think most people know about it already. They traded for Russell Westbrook. A lot of people do hate that trade, because of the floor spacing, but at this point, I do think they need another ball handler next to LeBron James, and I think this expands LeBron's career to play at a high level, because a lot of the pressure is taken off his shoulders and it's given to Russ, and we all know that Russ at this point, he loves to carry, he loves to have the ball in his hands, and I think LeBron will gladly give him more touches. But also their free agency signings, they signed Malik Monk, they signed Kendrick Nunn, they brought in Carmelo Anthony, they brought in Wayne Ellington. They just brought in a lot of shooters, which everyone was screaming, at them for, because a core of just Russell Westbrook, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, obviously that star power is immense, but you need floor spacing around them, and they got it. And I think next year LeBron's going to be coasting, but it's going to be worth it, as they are going to be fighting with the likes of Brooklyn and Golden State for a chance of capturing their championship, and LeBron's fifth. Now our fourth loser of free agency is the New Orleans Pelicans, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I have no idea what the Pelicans are doing with Zion. They're really almost trying to make Zion just want out. They've made Chris Paul get out. Obviously, they traded Anthony Davis to the Lakers, and now Zion is apparently not happy with the organization and his family for how they're treating their players and what they're doing to surround Zion to win and just make the playoffs. They traded Lonzo, which in my opinion was horrible. Zion and Lonzo was a perfect fit. Zion, with the pick and roll with Lonzo, the lobs, and he was also another floor spacer and good defender, and they kind of just lost him for nothing. They gained Devontae Graham, which he's a solid offensive player. He's kind of inconsistent, but he's a pretty good three-point shooter. But outside of that, he's nowhere near Lonzo's playmaking ability, and defensively, he's literally nothing. And they need more than just Devontae Graham. They traded Steven Adams for Jonas Valanciunas, which I kind of like. But all in all, they need more if they're going to keep Zion happy. And for that reason alone, they are our fourth loser. Now, coming into our final winner of free agency is the Brooklyn Nets, and I'm going to keep this pretty short. They re-signed Kevin Durant, and they still have this core for about one more year. And they brought in Patty Mills to be that solid veteran backup point guard to better the depth with Blake Griffin. And yeah, this team is honestly did what they're supposed to do. They brought back some veterans, but there is one major loss, I would say, but I wouldn't say they're losers of agency because of it. They did lose Jeff Green, which I think a lot of people are not talking about. He is a very good player. He's a really good shooter. He's a really good defender, and he's very versatile. He was really good in that Bucks series and in that whole playoffs in general. And losing him is, I think, it's gonna take a pretty good toll on the Nets. But all in all, I want to say they're a loser because of it, just because that offensive firepower, and they re-signed Kevin Durant, and so yeah, that's why they're the winner. Now, coming into our final loser of free agency is the Boston Celtics, and that's for the simple fact that they didn't do much in free agency. They lost they traded Kemba Walker for Moses Brown, in which they traded for Josh Richardson, but that really doesn't move the needle at all. They didn't really do any drastic moves. They re-signed Robert Williams, which is, I think, a really good signing. I mean, not signing, but extension. He's a good young center, but other than that, I just think that they didn't do much, and the clock is ticking with this team and with Tatum, and they need to show that the Celtics are all in and that they can win with the core around JT. But yeah, that's my 5 winners and losers of free agency. do not forget to like, comment, subscribe,